all of it. Because money's just energy, just like we are energy. And when you align with self, it flows. I have noticed that it does take that courage to jump and get into the next adventure. And there's nothing better than just trying the first one. What I find is that my clients, they start with smaller stuff, right? So a decade before they even think about retiring or switching jobs or switching careers, I'm talking about going, well, what's something that scares you today, like that you want to go do? And I have them start to build that muscle that it's okay to take that leap. It's okay to try to get it to the next place. And it's so important to make sure that you build that muscle. Otherwise, your physical body then goes through havoc.
It's so interesting that you're saying this. I just finished this new book, and the book is a parable because I was thinking about all the people that I've worked with over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
the guy in the book actually has to do exactly what you just said. Like she's going on the journey and she's dragging him along. And at some point, he's like, I lost my spark for
Mm,
life.
that's
And he
true.
figures out what you just said.
Well, and the thing is we also have to allow ourselves to change. Like we have these storylines going, oh my God, I'm in my 50s. People in their 50s don't like up and leave the life that they've created. Well, yeah, they do all the time. It's just the storylines that we've told ourselves that jam us up. And that's where I want people to understand that we create these limiting beliefs and these stories that you can break that template anytime you want. Anytime.
Totally.
You just have to decide that you want to do it and that you're okay disappointing everyone in your life because you're choosing you up and above everything else.
I write a lot about scarcity, and I'm curious in your books if you talk about like it's kind of a paradigm that people might live in, but
Mhm.
how does that play into what you're saying? I'm curious.
So scarcity is the underlying energy behind all of it, right? Because we don't feel like we're enough. We don't think that we're worthy of it. And that right there, or deserving, that you don't feel like you're deserving, all of that creates scarcity, right? The
Mm-hmm.
scarcity mindset. Because if we grew up in these homes and these communities where like I was told, Jewel, you're not a boy, so you can't get a football scholarship to go to Notre Dame, and kids like us on this side of the tracks can't afford to go there. I never even applied for my undergraduate there because I believed that story that my dad told me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way his father got to Notre Dame was he got a football scholarship. And my grandpa played football at Notre Dame. And then it was always a dream of mine to go there. So I went and did my MBA there. Because when I realized going, why the hell did I listen to that all these years?
Wow.
And I went and made my dream come true. And people are like, oh, what's wrong with your marriage that you're going to college? And I'm like going, nothing. And I'm good. And it was just the fact that who cares what's normal? Like, why do we put ourselves in these boxes? Like, you are the painter of your life. You are the creator of your life, and you can create it to be anything you want at any time.
Mm-hmm.
To choose for it to be that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's crazy how the stories from our past get in the way. I like to say that we make so many of our decisions from the memories versus like the vision of what we really want. And if we've never lived something or we've never seen our parents live something, it's not easy to like map out a vision that's going to align with ourselves. Like it takes
Right.
time, it takes work to dive
Yep.
in.
It does. And, but I also want to have people realize that that too can be a limiting belief that, like, I watch people. So let's talk Sedona kind of language.
Yeah.
You're going on this healing journey and you go to Sedona and you're finding the portals and the red rocks and right, you're in the vortexes. But people can get stuck in, I have to heal, I have to heal, I have to heal. And
Oh,
it's like going,
yes.
no, you just need to expand. Just go be who you are. Like watch how we tell ourselves, because when you're in alignment and your nervous system is not hijacked, you can quantum leap into anything.
Totally. Yeah.
But we put the limitations on ourselves that it has to be this like healing. Like I've done 42 ayahuasca ceremonies, and
Wow.
because it helped me get out of my left brain and back into my authenticity post my divorce. And there's at a point where you're going, okay, I don't need to necessarily heal or clear. I just need to go be who I am
Yep.
authentically. And so I would challenge people to think about like, where are you limiting yourself? Where are you telling yourself a story, a money story, or a belief system that only has limitations because you've put it on there?
Totally. Totally. I think trial and error and experimentation is also a big part of it. Like
Oh, for sure.
taking classes or going on retreats or doing
Hmm.
things that you've never done before. I mean, some of my biggest experiences of living have come through travel, things that have happened in other countries that,
Hmm.
you know, I would have never expected would change the whole entire way I look at life, but just by being in different environments. Like we've got to
Hmm.
put ourselves and maybe by ourselves, not just like the family vacation, which is a totally
Right.
different
Right.
experience.
Right. Well, then you can be yourself.
Hmm.
Right. I mean, I've got 4 kids. I get it. And it's like your mom when they're around, you know, very different Sedona experience than when I'm going there with my partner,
Hmm.
and he and I are out there and we're having fun, but it's very different when we've got our 6 kids together, right?
Is he
And
also on the journey? Just
oh
curious.
yeah, that's actually been the fun part that that like I said, I've been to Sedona many, 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 many times. And it started there. Like we just kept coming back to the Red Rocks and going on hikes, and that's the beauty when you have somebody that's on that journey with you. Well, it's like creating a support system to take that adventure or finding the courage because you're doing it at the same time. I think that's where a lot of those retreats come in handy too, because you're like going, there's other people on the same journey and you're starting to find your peeps that are starting to wake up going, I can't do it the way I've always done it. I got to do it a different way. And,
Yeah.
certainly, the crowd, when we've done the ayahuasca ceremonies, like all those people are on their own journey, but yet similar, looking for what's that quantum leap? What is it that I need to clear? Where am I needing to tap into and open my heart more so I can live from this place of abundance and love and gratitude? And
Yeah.
as it unpacks, you have no idea how much you've ignored your own heart until you
Hmm.
start jumping off the ledge into the next adventure.
Most definitely. Yeah. Moving here was definitely even that. Like my husband wasn't necessarily into it, but I was like, I'm getting the call of Sedona. We have to go. And we had just sent my daughter off to college and sold everything and traveled around with
Mm,
my son, pulled him out of school. And I just was like, it keeps coming, it keeps coming, it keeps coming. And we did it like 9 years ago, but it's a very feminine energy. And my
mhm,
husband's not that. And so it's been this acclimation process for
mm,
him because I guess that's one of the parts of a really beautiful relationship that we can support each other. And he's like really
mhm,
supported this part of my journey, not necessarily like he wants to be back in the mountains and we're probably about to get a house there so we can go back and forth,
mhm,
because he's given me this incredible gift of just being able to be in a place
mm.
where you go to the grocery store, just so people know, because you've been here so much. You go to the grocery store and people will be like in front of the oranges having a conversation
Oh
about
yeah,
aliens. And
right?
like, you're like, anything goes here, everything and
Anything,
anything. It's
anything
so
goes. Yeah.
wild. Like I grew up and my parents had a business in Berkeley, and so it was definitely like hippie land, but this is at a whole other level and it's really funny and you can laugh at it and it can be silly and it can be awesome because you just feel so accepted no matter who you are.
Well, like I always like to say, being your authentic self, I tell people, I'm like, you have to let your freak flag fly. And everybody in Sedona lets their freak flag fly,
In
right?
one way or another, yes.
However it comes into form, right?
Yeah.
You're able to be your authentic self, and it's a safe container for people to do that.
Yep. 100%.
And
It's
it can
funny.
be something more traditional by nature. It could be completely off of left field. But the things that if you're open to learn perspective and see something through a different hourglass, all of a sudden you're seeing it because there's a part of you that is like that. And that's why you're seeing it in the first place.
Yeah.
And when you can
Yeah.
start to realize that going, because I always tell people, like, this isn't about money management. Like, you align with self and you let your freak flag fly, all the money follows. All of it. Because money's just energy, just like we are energy. And when you align with self, it flows. Your husband gets more construction projects. I had somebody, clearly I run a wealth management firm that's all about the divine feminine. It's all about the feminine energy. And I'm getting so high in my frequency of holding that container that it's not necessarily about your ego and your mind and smart money management. That's about your heart and your soul, and the money follows. That I've recently had 2 clients who are very patriarchy leave my firm, and I'm going, oh, and then I just put the order in the universe. I'm like, all right, you know what? Can you just send me somebody that's really in alignment that I can really help? And here I had a $4.5 million client leave, and a woman called me who's stepping into her empowerment, leaving a marriage, 4 kids after 27 years, $28 million. Like, and all I was
So
doing was
fun.
being me and saying, I
Wow.
wasn't sad. I wasn't tapping into the vibration that I'm really sad that this person left. I mean, I wish him well on his way and he's not now on his journey. But I just turned around going, all right, universe, send me the one that I'm supposed to help next that still is in alignment for my firm and it hits the goals that we have to impact more lives and more souls. And it
Totally.
just shows up.
Yes. Yeah. It is absolutely breathtaking because we attract that which we are. We put out that
Right?
feeling of like who you are going to be best aligned for. Who are you going
Mm,
to have somebody sit down in the chair and connect with at this deep profound level?
right.
Then like magic is going to happen as a result of those kinds of relationships. I don't have time anymore for people that
Mm-hmm.
I'm having to, convince or
Yeah, no thanks.
control or like educate beyond,
No, no
I
way.
educate with compassion, of course, but not educate because there's absolute refusal of taking
Mm,
responsibility, for
right,
example, right? That's such
right.
a different place as a business
Huge.
owner.
Well, and that's where I learned very early on in running my business that if you're not tapping into the scarcity like we talked about earlier and being scared that it's not going to work out, we have to it's your surrender process and trusting and knowing that all is always going to be supported. You just may not understand how it's all going to be supported. And I think that's what makes people feel vulnerable because they don't know the
Mhm.
how or the blocking and tackling or the linear thinking way to get you to where you want to be. And sometimes it comes a little esoteric, and that's okay too.
What I'm so curious because you do come across lots of different people, and the biggest difference is like, are you open? Like, if somebody's open, they may not
Mm-hmm.
know about this world that you've been
Mm-hmm.
exploring for all these years, but they're open and receptive
Mm-hmm.
versus the door closes. Like, how do you even know what are the signs that you notice when somebody's open versus closed? Because I feel like even people listening to this conversation can probably appreciate this.
Well, first of all, it's an inner knowing, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just I always tell people I am a soul coach in drag as a financial planner. Like people think that they're coming to me for money management, but their soul is really seeking to get in alignment with self. And everybody's at a different part in that journey. And I know that when people seek me out, that they're ready to, on some level, unpack it. Now, I'll always get somebody that I'm like, so when you're first in the business, you want to just keep throwing stuff at the wall to see something sticks, right? You'll like help anybody because you're just trying to keep it going, right? I
Mm-hmm.
remember working 80, 90-hour weeks. Well, now I tell people, so as a financial planner, we have planning or consulting fees And then there's fees for managing their money. And they're two completely different separate services. And they're separate because we may or may not manage your money, but this side over here, the consulting side and the planning side, needs to be honored because that's when you're aligning with self. And people will weed themselves out of that area because if they're not ready to do their work, they won't write a check for the time to help them in that consulting process. And I have found that that actually weeds people through very well. Just like I'm sure if you're coaching somebody, they're writing you a check.
Right.
That's how you coach them. But in
Yeah.
our industry, this is again where I think the financial
Wow.
services industry is way off base, is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm only compensated for selling you a product.
Mm-hmm.
Right there is a disconnect. I don't want to have to sell you a product or not sell you a product to actually keep my business afloat. We have those services. If you'd like us to help you in that alignment, we can also help with your current advisor. People go, well, why would I stay with the current person if they haven't learned how to figure out how to do it yet? I go, well, that's a good question. That's why we have both services because they're not going to serve you well. Right. And there are financial planners now that have started to hire like psychologists in their
Yeah.
office and stuff like that to help on that side of the equation. And we just decided, when I was 27 years old, I was 6 years in the business at the time. And this month, actually, I hit 30 years in the business.
Woo.
Um, that I was like, oh, um, there's something about you have a buy-in energetically when you write that check to actually then ask for services in return. And I went to my client base at that time and I said, you know what? I'm creating this new service based on the surveys that I sent out. People said, well, we really like the independent help and consulting, but we also have no idea then how to align it to the products that are in the marketplace. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a disconnect, kind of like you were saying with the home that you suggested for your client. That's another financial product. It's just a house, right?
Right.
It's just a different asset. But it was an alignment with her,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's no different than stock accounts, bond accounts, other real estate accounts, whatever. It's about aligning it with your goals and your desires and your outcomes that you want to create. And when I did that, it was fascinating. I had people that I helped a ton. They were just like, and all I did was I said, I just want $250 for the year, because they were going from nothing to just I didn't want to charge hourly. That drives me crazy. So I figured out what the planning fee, I'm like, this would be just like a maintenance thing. So you stay on our books. The people who said no, I'm going, oh my God, I drive to your house. I come see you and I've helped you all these hours and you won't even pay me $250. Like it was shocking to me. And nice
I get it.
people,
Yes.
but I honored the relationship more than they honored the relationship. It wasn't reciprocal. It was a
Yes.
win-lose. And
Mm-hmm.
energetically, I don't want win-loses. That's why I'm a fee-based advisor as well, because if you're losing, I'm losing. If you're winning, I'm winning. That's energetic alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest disconnect with the financial services industry and people. And that's why
Yeah.
we have compliance problems. That's why we have people, when I go to a networking event and I'm like, oh, I'm a financial planner, they go, oh, and they walk away. It's like, do I
That's right.
smell? I don't think I smell, but that's what happens because somebody has probably screwed them over at some juncture because there's enough people who have sold products to people for their own compensation and it wasn't the right thing for them over time.
Totally. Yeah. I love, like, if you had been in my life 11 years ago, I would have seen the clarity that you're describing and got it. But like, I couldn't find anyone at that
Yeah.
time who could show me. There were some people that just sort of did the math and gave people the plan and didn't manage people's money. I was like, that's
Right.
interesting, but they weren't making so little money. Like I was like, that's a lot of work for
For
not
very
much
little.
gain. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I couldn't find that balanced place, but I love what you're talking about because the strategy and the consulting and the mindset piece is so important. And I
It's the
just said, okay, I'm going
foundation.
to go do that. And it's okay if I don't manage the money. But there have been plenty of times where I was like, oh gosh, I wish I still did that, because it's nice to have both, because it's hard to find legitimate, trustworthy people to put the money in, like you
Yep.
said.
Yep. And this is where like we're busy because there aren't a lot of people like us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm training younger planners. I
Mm.
have a brother who's becoming a partner in the firm, and we have other, so I always say we've got
Wow.
an advisor in every decade, so depending on your age and whatever and whoever you are. But it's this, it's more, it's heart-based consciousness within financial planning and wealth management. And and it's honoring you, the individual, and not trying to fit you into a box, even down to like, here's a great example recently. I ask people when I start the appointments late, I'm like, do you think Hitler's in the White House, or are you okay with what's going on? And they're like, they go one way or the other. There's no in between. They're on one side or the other. And wherever it is that they're at, now I understand where they're at. And then I go, okay, well, if they think Hitler's in the White House, I go, would you like us to sell the Tesla stock? I'm like, well, I already sold my Tesla car. So, yes, get rid of the stock too. Or no, I'd like to buy more of it. Like, it's about putting your money into things that are in alignment with you in how you feel, and that things that are important to you that you want to see, like be an angel investor in those stocks so that those companies can grow while you're making money on it yourself. But a lot
Mhm.
of people are put into these products that are just packaged for the masses, and they don't necessarily have that customization. And,
Mhm.
that's why I've sought the vendors out that I have, because I can really align it with you as the person.
Mhm.
And I find that most people are like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I just thought I had to just take what was there. But I had to sift through a lot of stuff in the industry to get to the vendors. And it's no surprise that it's more vendors on the West Coast than the East Coast, because the East Coast is more traditional financial products, where the West Coast has financial firms that are more creative, I will say, more open platforms, things of that nature. Just kind of happen to be that way, but just interesting. To me, it's just like everything's learning and growing at the same time we're individually learning and growing. Systems are breaking and new ones are being built up. But again,
Mhm.
that can't happen unless you choose to be the bright light that you came here to be and align with self. Because what you're doing, it's like when I got divorced, one of my coaches said to me, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you? For what?" Because we're all energy. And because I broke the energy of being married to a narcissist, that it just made it easier for the women coming after me. Because I weakened that energetic hold that narcissists have in their marriages. And I was like, huh, this is true for employers. This is true for friendships. Like, it's all energetically tied. And I realized in 2008 and 2009, when I had some clients that worked for General Motors. Now, if you recall, General Motors declared bankruptcy and the federal government bailed them out. I'm going, oh, those clients were also just as fiscally challenged in their cash flows, just like the company they were running. So
Mhm.
we're a part of these cultures that we don't even realize, or friendships. Like, you laugh about your credit card debt, or you laugh about how your family's so screwed up around money. Well, you are the company you keep. And we don't realize that these energetic ties go deep. And that's why it's hard, I think, for people to take the next adventure. And then, but
Mhm.
what you can stand outside of yourself and go, oh, got it. And then make conscious choices around that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I feel like it's everything now, but it took time to kind of figure out just how to align the investments, the things
Mm-hmm.
that I put my time into, the projects I take on, the clients that I work with. I think that when you don't have the pressure of money to make those decisions, it changes your decisions basically.
Absolutely. Well, you've given yourself financial space to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think the world that we live in, like, to be able to align your values to the things that you invest in, it's a privilege. I don't take it
Mm,
lightly, but I do feel like it's part of, whatever change that we want in the world, it's got to start with ourselves and what we're putting our money
yep.
into.
Yep. Exactly. And that then helps everything grow because if you add energy to things, it
Yeah.
grows. The sunlight grows the plants. If you're happy at your job, you're getting more pay raises and more bonuses, more
Yeah.
promotions because you're
Oh,
happy.
yeah.
If you're unhappy, promotions are getting passed by, you're not getting the pay raises you want, you're definitely not getting bonuses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I'm just thinking my son just started a job first time as a for a summer job, waiting on tables as a server. And every day he comes home and he's made more money than the day before because he's going from like brand new deer in headlights to like being more comfortable, being more of
Right.
service. And I mean, it's just like life. It's like as you become comfortable and you really enjoy what you're doing and you figure out how to
Mm.
do it better, he's being compensated for it. And it's so exciting now. He's like, you guys, every day you want to know how much we make in tips because it's really fun to just see what's happening
Oh.
for him and the blossoming that happens when you realize that you can create more value through
Hmm.
your actions.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, the beings that we are, so much fun. Well, let me ask, is there anything that you would like our audience to know? Like anything that we haven't touched on or anything for our time is up here? Because this has been great.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you live in Sedona. I'm like going, okay, when are we gonna go to Sedona?
Well, I think a lot of what we've been talking about is like this relationship that we have with money. And I would say that I don't think we're ever done with exploring what's going on with it. I feel like there's always opportunity to grow and
Mhm.
learn no matter where you're at. Both of you and I have been with people and money for 30 years,
Right.
60 years of experience, and I still learn every day new things.
Yep.
And the books that I've written are about these topics. I'm really excited about the new book because I took everything I've learned and put it into a fictional parable with a woman as the lead character. Because if you
That's
look at a lot
awesome.
of the fictional parables, there are some of my favorite books. The Richest Man in Babylon, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of a parable. The Greatest Salesman in the World, like those books
All
have
those
this
books.
lasting impact. And I thought, what if I could create a character that would make that kind of impact in people's lives, but a woman on a journey from scarcity to abundance. And my husband was very
Mm.
involved. So it ended up becoming very relationship oriented, so that couples that read it together are like uncovering all these different things because we were still uncovering it writing it. He would, at first when you
Yeah,
read the
that's
book,
how
I
it
had a guy
works.
character and he was like, your guy sounds like a therapist but not a guy. Like like that's not how guys talk. Like he had
Right.
to really help me and I got lots more help. But it was funny because I just wanted the energy, but I didn't know how to package the energy from
Totally.
a man. He helped a lot, thank goodness. But it also grew our relationship because we had to uncover
Mm.
some hidden shadows that we had not addressed in over 38 years together, like crazy pants. But yeah, if somebody's interested in reading something like that, then The Money Catalyst is a great fun read.
And we'll make
Yeah.
sure we put the links and everything to that below so everybody can. It's about abundance, right? It's like
Yeah.
I always say I can't be the only one teaching this, right? Where it's all about people come to who resonates with them the most and we all can rise together. Like that's what it's all about,
100%.
right? And there won't be a few of us in the next decade. There'll be more of us doing heart-based conscious things, whether it's our money, our health, or our relationships, because that's where the expansion is going. And
Hmm.
the more we can start to tap in, the more we'll create more of what we desire.
So true.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. And again, we'll put all of your links below.
Thank
And
you.
if anyone needs anything, and I always say, like, love yourself. Do the most self-loving, self-caring thing and go find your giggle because your giggle is in alignment with your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to experience free coaching based on my 25 plus years as being a financial planner and ask me any question that you want to ask me to help you get past that hurdle in your financial world? I run these free workshops every other month to start to open you up to start to help you get to this next place. The information for my free workshop, click the link below and register, and I'll see you on the next workshop.